Great. Hi, hello, good morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you're joining us from. Welcome to Gladwell Academy's webinar series. We are very excited to have you join us today for the webinar on how to continuously adapt in chaotic situations, hosted by Anand Murthy Raj and Krishna Joshi. I am Kiran Kaur Singh, responsible for marketing for Gladwell Academy, India. And before we start, I would like to give some, instructions. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Zoom webinars, all the attendees will be on mute to avoid any background noise or sounds. In case of questions, you can use the chat function on the dashboard. So if you don't see it, just hover your mouse over the Zoom app and you will see a dashboard. There's a chat function. Just to check whether it's working, I already see some people writing yes, yes, yes. So I see it's already working, so that's great. For any kind of questions, please feel free to ask it in here. So I would now, let's start with the first host of this webinar, Sri Krishna Joshi. I would like to give the stage to him. Krishna.
Excellent, great. Thank you very much, Kiran. I think that was a good way to kind of set the stage. I appreciate it. And hello, everybody. I don't know if you guys can see me, but hopefully you can. I'm incredibly excited to be here with you and to basically talk to you. Hopefully, we'll be able to make this a very interactive session. So that's how Anand and I have designed it. So. I'm excited, and I'm gonna basically, give you a little bit of my intro, and then we will talk about the topic of today, which is, how do you deal with chaotic situations, especially now, given the COVID and the whole, definition of work is changing. So let's dive in straight. So about me, I won't basically, dive too much into my details and my background. You can certainly check me out on LinkedIn. The link to my LinkedIn page is at the end. But very briefly, my name is Krishna. I'm a very passionate Agile enthusiast. I have, in total about say 12 or 13 years of experience managing Agile programs. And my job has predominantly been to drive goals to outcomes, beneficial for business and deliver value. So when I'm not working, I'm either running or training for the next marathon. I'm a very avid runner, or I'm doing some amateur photography. I have 2 kids, and there's a lot of discounts on DSLRs. So this is what I picked up as a hobby, right? So that's what I do. About me. Today, I'm going to talk about just 3 things, with all of us. The first one is about agility. What agility is and what Agile is. We'll then talk about business agility and what that actually means to us and how we can apply, and what role do we have to play. And in a situation which is chaotic and a constantly changing world, when multiple priorities are changing, your environment is changing, how can we continue to add value, right? So those are 3 things. But before I dive deep in and talk about any of these topics, I'd like to do a quick pulse check with the audience by doing a small poll. And the way we do this poll is by let me actually log in and get into the presenter view. All right, this one. Let me get in. So if all of you can open your browser and go to this page very, very quickly, I think we'll be able to do a poll to find out the kind of experience levels. And so I can figure out where I should dive deep in or where I can basically stay at a high level. So in your browser, you just have to type slido.com. It'll ask you for a event code. Then you can type in Agile, AGILE. That's about it, right? So hoping that some of you are in there, I will pop up the first question that you see on your screen right now. The question is, what's your average number of years of experience in Agile? So you can pick whatever works best for you. It may be more than 3 years, in which case you can just choose the last option, which says 1 to 3 years, what have you. Right? Okay, yeah, so more than 3 years, that's cool. All right, so let's just give it. We have about 11 participants who've responded, and we have about 41. So I'll just give it another 15 seconds or so for everybody else to log in and kind of provide their responses. So what it helps me do is, when I have to talk about a certain topic, I will basically tailor it, or keep it at a high level if everybody knows about it, or dive slightly deeper if the experience is less or varied mix of experience, then we will dive a little deeper. Excellent. So we've got about 22 people, 23 people respond. I think that's very good. Hopefully, for the next question, the others will pick up and respond. So this is great. What we know from this brief survey is that we have about 71% of people who are fairly, comfortable with Agile. They have more than 3 years of experience. That said, we do have a few beginners, maybe about 0 to 6 months, about 4%. We also have people with some 6 months to 1 year or 1 to 3 years as well. So that's helpful. So stay right there as the question is going to change and you can respond. So 26 people, thank you to everybody who's responded. So I'll stop this and start the next question that shows up on your screen. So if you can please respond to that, that'll be very helpful. On the same page, you will see the next question. And okay, I've seen people starting to respond already. That's cool. Yeah, I've been looking at all those graphics that Slido app has come up with. That's pretty cool, I would say. I mean, this has become my recent favorite. You can use it too; it's free. All right, so we see that about 18 people have responded, and I think people have started to think about business agility already. So you may find that there may be a factor that you think that is key to driving business agility, and that's not on the screen. So you can pick whichever is closest. So all right, so we have pretty much 24 responses. 88% of individuals think that this is business owner. 63%, sorry, leadership is 88%, business owner 63%, scrum master 46%. That is very interesting. Operations team is 46%, and the development teams is about 38%. So that's cool. All right. So that is great. And this tells me that I think either some of you are already familiar with what business agility is and are instrumental in driving that, or some of you maybe you're just getting to know it, or some of you did guesswork. Anything is fine. So thank you very much for that response. I'll stay right on the screen because the third question has just popped up, and this is the last question in the survey, live survey. What's been your biggest constraint in being productive while you are working from home? And I've put in some of my experiences, or what do you think you're missing today because you're working from home? So pick whatever response is closest that comes to you. All right, so we have about 10 people who started, 15 people who started to respond. That's super. 63% are saying that they are already equally productive at home and office. That is awesome. Thumbs up to all of you guys, because you are already demonstrating personal agility. I think that's kudos to you guys. There's about 23% or 22%. I think I can understand internet continues to be a problem, especially in a country like India. I think it's not always perfect. There's kids at home for some of us who are married, and I'm surprised nobody is giving into the temptation of watching Netflix or Prime Video. That is fantastic, control that you have, and nobody is missing driving. That's awesome. Planet Earth is getting a reboot, so that's super cool. So thanks to, I think consistently we're getting about 25, 26 responses. That's super cool. Thanks to everybody who's participating. I will stop that question and the survey right now. Now I have a pretty good idea of the kind of audience that we have, so I can figure out how to go from here. So that said, we will talk a little bit about agility, business agility, and how can we add value. Given that the kind of audience we have, I won't spend too much time, but I'll quickly talk about agility. What's agile? If you look up the Oxford, Webster's, what have you dictionary, agility is Very simply put, it's your ability to embrace change quickly and easily, right? What you see on the left, the picture on the left is called the Deming cycle. What it says is that when you're dealing with a certain assignment and the unknown is more than the known, then you don't plan for the big chunk at a time, but you plan for a small chunk. That is the planning. Then you do the small chunk. You verify it whether or not that meets the acceptance of the consumer, the customer, and then you make your adjustments accordingly. So that's in a nutshell what the iterative or incremental let's say way of working is, and that's what agile is about, right? And once you basically get very very comfortable, you pick up the next chunk and so on and so forth. So that way you uncover from unknowns, you go to knowns, and then your journey will be, your surprises will be far less, and you will basically be able to get to where you want to get to. If you also look up, and I specifically wanted to bring up the concept of innovation, to all of us, is in, if you also look up the Oxford or whatever dictionary and look up what innovation means. Innovation comes from the Latin word which is innovare and means to renew or to change quickly. And as you can see, innovation is basically inherently embedded in the agile way of working. If you don't respond fast enough to your changing environment, you can never be called as somebody who's agile, right? So just keep that in mind, because we're going to come back to talking about that, a few more times. So for some of you who are just getting initiated on agile, what agile is and what it means is, I'll basically walk you through this with a very simple example. Say for instance, so agile is about 3 5 and 3. What three is it's about three roles: the role of a product owner, the scrum master, and the development team. That those are the three roles. What is five? The five are the events, which is your sprint planning, your sprint review, then your daily scrum, then your sprint retrospective, and the sprint itself. Those are five events. And lastly, Scrum is also about the three artifacts, which is the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the working product or the increment. Now, what does this mean? So, very simply put, I will give you the example of our interior work that's happening in our new flat, and I will tell you how. And you will find this funny, but we are actually having the interior guy and us. We have an agile way of working, and I'll tell you how. How this works is that, imagine this guy is the guy who's in charge for the interior work. His name is Purna, and Purna is working with executive stakeholders, what have you. So if the Purna is playing the product owner's role, so he's listening in from my parents, myself, my wife, and my two young kids, who also have requirements on whether they should have Elsa or Anna or a Spider-Man in their room. So he's listening to everybody. Based on a few conversations, he's coming up with a product backlog, which is bedroom, master bedroom, puja room, mini bar, what have you. He's coming up with a list, and then he's got a bunch of different teams. One team that specializes in woodwork, one team that specializes in glasswork, plumbing, what have you. So if he goes to one of the teams which does woodwork, he would say, hey guys, the customer, Krishna, has agreed to work with us in an agile fashion. He wants to see us do one room perfectly before he can give us, the next room, and he can give his thumbs up without, so that we don't go too far out and mess it up. So we give him the contract for doing, let's say the master bedroom and the bathroom. He takes those two requirements, or let's say the third one as well, maybe a false ceiling in the master bedroom. Those three requirements go, the team basically looks up the requirements, the number of covers, the number of mirrors, and what have you, the styling, etc. They sign up for that as the sprint backlog. They may divide this further into smaller chunk items to say, hey, we need what kind of decorum needs to be put up, what have you. Over the next, let's say 2 week iterations, they would produce it. At the end of 2 weeks, they would show me the workings, product, which is the master bedroom, how it looks, the cupboards, the false ceiling, the mirrors, what have you. Once I give him a thumbs up, we agree on the next set of priorities. That becomes the sprint backlog, and that's how we go. So that's in a nutshell. Throughout the process, Purna, who's the interior guy, he's keeping me in the loop. by sending me pictures of progress that's being realized. That's pretty cool of him. And so that's pretty much, how Scrum works. You will also realize that there are opportunities for getting a feedback at every stage. At the product backlog, or the product backlog, the interior guy might be able to say, hey, I think this is way too much, or this is something that we have never done. They might be able to, come up with one of those, or we can negotiate scope. Same is the case. I don't want to be a very, very pushy customer so that they do a shoddy job of quality. So I can also determine how much between them and us, we can agree upon how much work can be done. So that's another feedback loop. Between the 2 weeks that they are working, they will meet every day to inspect and adapt how they are progressing against the goal, which is to get the master bedroom and the bathroom done. So that's their daily sync up. And obviously, at the end of the sprint, when they showcase what's working or what's not, I can give them feedback to say, hey, these 4 things were beautifully done. These things you have opportunities to improve. Then that is fed into the next sprint plan. So that's in a nutshell what Scrum or Agile is. And I'm happy to talk about this offline for anybody who wants further details. That said, why am I talking about Agile and how is that relevant? I'll tell you, there's a company called Version One that does a survey every single year. That surveyed close to about 3,000 customers across the world to figure out what are the benefits that customers are getting by adopting Agile. And as you can see, this is hardcore survey data. And as you can see, 69% of the companies that are doing Agile are doing it because that gives them the ability to manage changing priorities faster. Isn't that the need of the hour? Absolutely yes. Project visibility goes up, and 65% of the respondents said that. The others you can read up to say, there's business and IT alignment, better morale, what have you, better transparency and all that. So there's rock solid reasons, and this is clearly converting into faster business value delivered to customers. And you are absolutely, you can look up the State of Agile report. It's available freely on Google if you want to look it up. And why are they doing it? Because clearly, number one reason, allows you to be more agile, helps you deal with changing priorities. Second question, I think that with that, I move on to the second topic of the day, which is talk about business agility, right? Now, what is business agility? Very simply put, your business agility is the ability to compete and thrive in the digital age, by quickly responding to market changes and, emerging opportunities. With that, you have to come up with an innovative business solution for that, right? So very simply put, you as an organization will sense what's happening around you, how your business is going to change, business competition, environment, geopolitical reasons, competition, technology. You constantly keep sensing that, and then you respond. You come up with your product backlog that basically suits best based on all of the environmental changes, and you basically make you adapt your plan. If you already had a plan, you will adapt or change it to get better business outcomes. So that's business agility for you. Now, now if that's business agility, and I think you guys just responded to the survey, and beautifully so. And you said, who's responsible and how can we achieve business agility? Business agility, like most of you gave responses that were distributed, you're all right in that response, because business agility actually requires everyone involved in delivering solutions to be agile. So it requires business and technology leaders, development guys, IT operations, whether you're a part of legal, marketing, finance, support, everybody is required to embrace lean and agile values or lean and agile practices to be able to deliver high quality, innovative solutions that basically go to the market faster, right? So that's business agility, at core. Now let's talk about, how are companies demonstrating business agility in today's day and age of COVID and all of the chaos that's going on around. So I'll give you a couple of local and a couple of global examples, and I think you will realize that there's many more, but I thought these are the ones that we can relate to faster. And so I just had a few, like 4 of them here, and there's obviously there's a ton of other companies which are also doing it. So let's talk about business agility in action. Number one, Brigade group of companies. This is one of the leading real estate tycoons. Operates out of all of southern part of India, and they up until now only believed that only when the customer walks into their office and shakes hands is when the sales can actually happen. Right after COVID happened, Brigade demonstrated business agility, and they invested in trying to take their platform, completely digital, wherein customers can actually meet with the sales executive via video conference. Those individuals are able to give a virtual tour of the flat to prospective buyers. They're able to make payments online, obviously through a payment gateway. The agreement of sale, which is only between the builder and the customer, is now happening through a digital signature. Now, about a few months ago, nobody would have thought that there'll be a lot of people who'd be willing to do this. But today, Brigade is already saying that their sales numbers, they're able to meet about 12 to 15% of their sales targets through the digital channel, right? How cool is that? That's now example one. The second one is where there's business agility where Domino's has gotten into a tie-up with ITC. Now ITC has got all of, like, with the lockdown, all these households need is a bunch of grocery where you need flour, you need food, you need some masalas for the kind of food that we prepare, the spices or what have you. So ITC had all of this stock and inventory, but they did not have the delivery arm. So they tied, and Domino's is the opposite. So they had a bunch of pizzas, and not everybody is eating pizzas these days because of the lockdown, and people are trying to be very, very careful of what they get from outside. So Domino's is becoming the delivery arm for ITC, and they're delivering these packages, packaged what do you call the grocery kit, which has got a bunch an assortment of flour, Ashirwad, and the masalas and what have you. So it's a cool combination. Uh, Taking this to the next level, um, companies like Ford, General Motors, Tesla, who were absolutely iconic and were only known for their prowess in building automobiles, are now making personal protection equipment. They are making, they are either converting their units to make masks, or they are making ventilators and personal protection equipment like that. Like, who would have thought? That is business agility at play, right? So trying to basically respond to sensing and responding to your environment, that is super cool, and that's the need of the hour. Now, humanity will remember General Motors, Ford, and all companies like these forever because of the agility that they demonstrated. Mind you, I think Anand Mahindra was also one of our tech leaders, techpreneurs. He also said that you guys, if we're also trying to make ventilators. I mean, that's work in progress. Mahindra Holidays has basically said that anybody who wants to use our Mahindra Holiday Resorts for containment centers, absolutely welcome to do that. That's super duper agility demonstrated by a leader in the organization. Another such example is Abbott. Abbott, as has been a pioneer in basically the life-saving equipment. These guys have come up with rapid COVID testing kits that can test and give you results of whether or not somebody is positive or negative in 5 minutes or less. This is just pending FDA approval, but in cases where there is way too many cases, they're using these rapid, testing kits for testing COVID already. So these are just a few examples of companies that have basically, made the switch from what they were doing mainstream to changing their either line of business or enhancing their mode of doing business pretty fast. Now, that brings me to the last and final part of what we are here to talk about. The first one: how can we add value in these changing times, in these tough situations? Number one, we are already working from home. And I think most of you responded to the survey. I mean, I already know. I mean, I know the expectation versus reality could be very different, and I can totally understand that. But at least this guy, wearing a vest and a and a lungi is still being productive. He's got his headset on and stuff. If you think that there will be a disturbance at home because of kids or what have you, absolutely don't feel constrained. I have two young kids at home. They pop in to my Zoom calls every once in a while, and my colleagues totally understand it. And I don't basically even lock the door when the kids basically are at home and they want to basically come in, because it's their space that I'm intruding into, and I'm totally cool if they come in. And my colleagues are more than happy to basically share a few hellos when my kids pop in and Zoom bomb, like they do, like you see in the picture. Now, what else can we do is, I would say, you this is saving us I think the positive lens of looking at the COVID situation and the lockdown is that we are all locked up at home, but we are saving a lot of time in commute. What do we do when we don't have options either on weekdays or weekends? Grab the opportunity, like basically pick a hobby. You want to enhance yourself, enroll yourself for a course, go do that. There's a ton of options available out there. If you want to basically try out cooking, go do that. If you want to basically try out photography, absolutely do that. I mean, sky's the limit. We've only constrained ourselves thinking that we can't do certain things, and that's what I think is a fixed mindset. And we want to basically make that switch to a growth mindset where we say that, hey, you know what, I'm going to be agile. I will basically look for opportunities to innovate, change, and anything that I could not do, I will look at the lockdown as an opportunity. I mean, as a matter of fact, I basically worked on getting myself a certification. I enrolled for a course. Anand was the coach for that. We got myself one. I'm on my way to basically enroll for another certification, enhance my learning, understand a little bit more about DevOps or Scrum coaching or what have you. So I encourage you to basically do the same. This is not to say, I think a lot of schools, I mean, two of both my kids have online learning classes. So when kids their age, and my kids are about 4 and 9, when our kids can demonstrate that kind of agility, like who would have thought, like 2 months before today, their online learning will be that effective. But in fact, that's proving us wrong. So I encourage all of us to take the advantage of basically leveraging the extra time that life is giving us, the lockdown situation, get into a growth mindset, net be agile, and basically embrace agility. And I think you will thank yourself for doing that in the short run.
Now, there
With
were a
that
couple
said,
of questions. I
yep.
just allow people to talk and ask those questions. Okay.
Sure. Feel free to type your questions in the chat window or unmute yourself and ask. And thank you for that reminder, Anand. And we have certainly some time carved out towards the end for Q&A, so feel free to ask us that. That said, I'd like to pause my monologue here and introduce to you our next speaker of the day, who also happens to be my coach, Anand Murthy Raj. Anand is a fantastic agile coach. He doesn't just basically teach agile. He's basically somebody who lives his life the agile way. He's the first Asian to be certified scale program consultant trainer. He's got about over 2 decades of experience in managing agile projects and successfully basically leading agile initiatives. His passion for training has helped him coach and enable about 5,000 students, participants in Agile and Safe. There's about 35 odd implementing Safe and 10 release train engineer classes that Anand has done. And one thing that I'm very envious about Anand is the amount of world travel that he gets to do, that he used to do just before the COVID situation. But he's been pretty agile. He's moved his trainings online, so that's also something that we get inspired from him from time to time. Anand has also had a background in helping organizations like Philips, Siemens, and Amadeus Software to transform and scale their agility and basically get business value, faster time to market, greater quality, and better productivity. So without further ado, Anand, over to you.
Okay. So let's start with a small story. Am I audible?
Yep.
Okay. Let's start with a small story, guys. It so happened that a mother and a small child were going to a temple. And as you can see in the photograph, mother was holding the small child's hand and taking her to the taking her to the temple. So the mother had a different objective. She had an objective to go visit the God, put her prayers, put her request to the God, whereas the child had a totally different objective. The child was more looking at spending more time with with the balloons that is outside the temple, some sweets that she can purchase. So the child really did not want to go along with the mother, but the mother was holding the child. There were about 1 lakh people in the entire fair, and somehow the child missed. She missed the mother's hand, and she was standing in front of a balloon shop, enjoying the balloons. And the mom also did not realize. The mom went into the temple. She looked at the shrine. After some time, she realized that the baby was not there. She came out. She started screaming. She couldn't find her baby. She finally lodged a police complaint, and she went. Now, the child was enjoying these balloons for a couple of days, and after the fair is over, then the child realized that she's actually nowhere close to her mom. She started crying. But at that point in time, nobody came to help the child. There were a lot of people who used to come, who used to feel sorry for the child, but they used to say that, sorry, we have to go home and we cannot do. But there was one person finally who realized that it is so important to get this child back to her mother. So he took her to the police station and he filed a complaint, and the police checked if there was any other complaint filed. Fortunately, the mother had filed a complaint, so they could match the two complaints. And after some time, after about a year or so, the child was reunited with the mother. In the bargain, what happened? The child had to go through a lot of pain, a lot of agony. Had the child been a little careful, had the child been a little proactive in those crises, she would have not left her mother. She would have been probably safe. Aren't we also in the same situation today? We have been in a comfort zone. We had a different set of objectives. Corona comes in, it shatters everything. And now we are like the second photograph. The child is confused, you don't know what to do. And my objective today is to help, give you a helping hand, pull you up and say what to do. With this objective, I'm going to move to the next slide, Krishna. Okay, now let's go back to Corona again. So what is that we have to do in these COVID situations? How should we deal with this chaotic change? Right? So first understand what is a disease. So what is a disease? A disease is nothing but opposite of ease. For example, you have ease, disease, stress, distress. So disease is something that you will not allow you to sit in ease. How would one know that somebody is suffering from a problem? It is only through symptoms. Right? People say, I'm suffering from high sugar. High sugar is not a problem. High sugar is a symptom of a problem called diabetes. High blood pressure is not a problem. It's a symptom. So we realize that something is abnormal because through these symptoms. And the moment you see a symptom, obviously you need to understand what is the cause. Now, here is where we make big mistakes. We always focus on something called as the exogenous or the external cause. External cause is something outside the human body. How many of us are today in India? We have about billions and billions of population in India, but you see only few been contacted with coronavirus. That means to say that I had actually traveled to Dubai when I came back on 12th morning to India, and I was literally worried that I might have contacted with the disease. But fortunately, nothing, my results were negative, which means to say that it is not the external cause. The external cause is same. Everybody, every professional today in the organization sees the same COVID problem. The economic challenges are there, same for everybody. So what created something that happened to me was inside that made me what I am today. That is called as the endogenous cause. In business terms, what we call as root cause or the fundamental cause, or something called the internal cause, that is inside the human body. And to really understand what is that internal cause because of which I was not contacted with the virus, though a couple of my colleagues or friends who were with us in the conference were contracted, you need to understand something called as the constitution of the body. And that is what we call as business model, or the human body is what we need to understand. It's not one part of the body. Now, the next is very important. The next is We are what we are uncommon with others. We all know a few years back when swine flu was caught. Swine flu was the Pune was the swine flu capital of India. But did everybody in Pune catch the disease? No. There is something only on that particular day, something went wrong with somebody and they caught the disease. That's it. So what defines our individuality is not what is common with others. It is with uncommon with others. And when you realize what is uncommon with others, you start to position yourself differently in the market. And that is what is called predisposition or susceptibility. In order to live in this COVID-19 situations, the most important aspect is you need to build immunity. Now, what do you mean by building immunity? Is there any medical test to say how immune you are? No, we can't say. Building immunity is a process. It's an internal process that you eat the right food, you do the right exercise. And in this COVID situations, if you apply this to yourself, we all are suffering with a common disease called uncertainty. We are all seeing that as symptoms working from home. We really don't know what's going to happen next in the next 6 months. We are all trying to understand what is the root cause. And even now, we blame it on COVID. Guys, I'm telling you, after COVID-19 problem is solved, the world will not be the same what it was before. Things will dramatically change. It is absolutely going to be a combination of external cause and internal cause. And remember, external cause you don't have control. Internal cause you have control. Which means to say that you have to start thinking about yourself to become uncommon like with others. We all comb our hair. We all have hair on our head. But what is uncommon is a crazy hairstyle. And everybody will watch that guy. So don't try to be along with the herd. Try to be something very, very different from the herd. And that is what I call as vitality. That's what I call as vitality. Can you just go back for a minute? Can you just go back for a minute? Vitality. What is building vitality in today's COVID world? Building vitality is ability to deal with changes after COVID. You need to become more immune now, which means there is no other option. You need to learn. You need to improve your skills. You need to learn new ideas. You need to learn new techniques so that post-corona, you become very different compared to others and you are now vulnerable to any market changes. So my simple suggestion is, let us sweat in corona peace so that we don't bleed once the corona is stopped. After corona stops, the world comes back to normal. We will have to see another kind of a problem. Let us not bleed at that time. Let us sweat now. Let us spend some time to learn new ideas. Next slide, please. So what is a mindset? Is there a simple idea how to approach this? Yes, there is a very simple idea. Mr. Rajiv Bajaj, the MD of Bajaj Auto Limited, used to go for yoga classes, and his yoga teacher was Dr. BVS Iyengar, one of the most famous yoga gurus of all time. Mr. Bajaj once overdid yoga and sprained his back. The injury was so bad that he could not stand and take a shower for 5 minutes in the washroom. There used to be severe pain in his back, and he went to a doctor. Next slide, please, Krishna. Just click once. Once more. Yes. Now what happened was the doctor did an MRI scan and said that you have to undergo a structural change. You have to undergo a structural change. The doctor said, I'm going to fix your structure to enable a function called walking. And he was not very comfortable because if something goes wrong, if there is some problem, then it's going to be a permanent damage. So he was afraid he did not get the surgery done. His yoga master called him again a couple of times and said, why don't you come and experience what's happening with us? And he said, okay, let's go there. So he goes there. The yoga teacher gives him 2 hours of rigorous asanas. At the end of 2 hours, Mr. Bajaj was doing Shirshasana. That means head is at the bottom, legs are at the top. And the guru kept about 5 kgs of weight on his leg and said, kick this weight. Your problem is solved. So after 2 hours of rigorous exercise, this man gingerly opens the car door and is able to sit with much of a problem. Within 2 days, the problem is solved. He doesn't have that pain anymore. So what does it mean? So he was so happy that he went to the yoga guru, thanked the guru and said, the doctor said he would do a surgery, but you solved the problem without a surgery. And what the yoga guru told him was an amazing idea of how to deal with COVID situations. He said, the doctor wanted to enable a function called walking by fixing a structure through a surgery. What I have done is I applied systems thinking and enabled a function by doing some asanas so that the structure will align automatically itself. And this is what I think is a very powerful message for all of us. We have to start thinking of how to enable a function. Don't sit in your house saying that in COVID situations, we can't do this. No, you have to try. Only when you try and fail, you'll realize how to fix the structure. Unless until you try, it is not possible to achieve anything in today's situations. So coming back to Scrum, what he said, you have to do a sprint planning meeting in life today. You have to do a daily stand-up meeting in life today. At times you have to give a demo. I'm giving a demo today. And we have to retrospect, make course corrections, and then improve. If you sit today thinking you cannot attend trainings, you will not be able to do anything remote, I'm telling you, you are inviting trouble, because the world will not be the same after the coronavirus problem is resolved. Next slide, please. Guys, this is a 5-minute video. I request you to please give a little bit of a focus and understand it's a strong message that I'm trying to give in this video. Okay, play, Krishna.
Great.
I'm proud to be English. My family have served and we've defended this country and we've been to war for this country.
I'm really patriotic about Bangladesh.
Well, I am 100% Islamic, yeah, definitely.
This is a Kurdish wedding with my mom in the traditional Kurdish clothes.
We're just proud black, so that's it.
Yeah, I think we are probably the best country in the world, if I'm honest.
Think about other countries and other nationalities in the world. Are there any that you don't feel you get on with well, or you won't like particularly?
Germany. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the Germans.
You might think they're a little bit.
Particularly India and Pakistan, probably because of the whole, the conflict.
Because I have this side of me that's like, that hates Turkish people. Not people, but the government. But French.
No. We're just best, it's just fact.
I'm more important than you. I don't know you, but in my opinion, I am strong and I am more important than a lot of people.
How would you feel about taking a journey based on your DNA?
Yeah, I feel very intrigued.
What could you possibly tell me that I don't know?
So do you know how DNA works? So you get half from mum and half from dad. So 50% from each of them, and they get 50% from their parents, and back and back and back. And all those little bits of your ancestor, they filter down to make you, you. I need you to spit in this tube for me. You spit up to the little black line.
That's a lot of spit.
The story of you is in that tube. What's it going to tell me?
It's going to be, oh yeah, you're French, and wait, your grandparents are French, and wait.
100% Bengali.
Solid Iraqi.
I'm Cuban.
You're going to tell me that I'm English? Like I've told you.
Jay, you come down and join us?
I'm a little bit nervous, I have to say.
So you ready to find out your results? Will you read it out to us, please? Wow, look at me.
Oh my God. Oh, wow. Shit, I didn't expect that.
All of them.
Whoa. No.
Caucasus, which was Turkish?
Yeah.
Eastern Europe, Spain, Portugal, Italy, Greece.
I'm 32% British.
What?
Great Britain. German, 30%. Can we 5% German?
I'm Irish.
Yeah, so I'm a Muslim Jew.
Great Britain, 11%. You saw these results online?
Eastern Europe.
Iceland has definitely moved closer to Europe now.
I'm going to go a bit far right now, but this should be compulsory. There would be no such thing as like extremism in the world if people knew their heritage like that. Like, who would be stupid enough to think of such thing as like a pure race?
In a way, we're all kind of cousins in a broad sense. In a much more direct sense, you have a cousin in this room. Turn around and guess who it is. Wash?
Yeah. What's that?
Why don't you come down here and meet your cousin?
Did you know? I didn't know I did. It's like, my heart's pounding right now. I swear to God. I'm Jay from everywhere, but I'm ready to this. I'm a real man of the world.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. So would you like to travel to all of these places?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I hope you've got the message. An open world starts with an open mind. I think this is the time for us as individuals to start opening up our mind. In the West, in the Western part of this globe, they refer world as world. But in India, we refer world as sansar, and sansar is family. I think it's time for us to think about the world now. Think about what we can offer to the world. So, Krishna, next slide. Okay, now I have a small exercise that all of us have to do. So I'm going to take you through a journey where all of you can go to a breakout room. Randomly, the system will allocate you to various breakout rooms. I'm going to give you about, say, 5 minutes or 4 minutes of time. You have to, from that breakout room, you have to click this link. Go, Krishna. You have to click this link. And first of all, listen to me before clicking the link. You have to take this link and click, put it on a browser. And then you'll have to close this Zoom window and open a new Zoom window, because we are in a webinar mode. I want to take you to a training mode. And then I'm going to push you all to a remote rooms. Dynamically, you will discuss and say, what is one important thing you will do to be more relevant in the post-COVID-19 world? How would you enhance your skills? And I would like you to share one thing with me as a team. Please come and share. And then we'll see how to take things forward. So are you ready? Make a note of this URL. It's tiny.cc/Gladwell. Very simple to remember. I'm going to end this meeting here. All of us have to hit this URL, come back to the main URL, this URL, join that meeting, and then we will push you all to the breakout rooms, and then we will discuss among ourselves, come back, and then we will close the meeting there. This is the adaptation that we need to do in COVID situations. Everything will not be in one meeting room moving forward, right? Are we all ready to move? Yeah. Can I see some S there in the chat windows? Great. So let's quickly move. I'm going to close this, and then I'm going to see you all in that meeting room in the next 1 minute. Thank you.